Hi teachers, Mary here. Welcome back to my channel, your go-to spot for creative ideas and recommendations for your language lessons. If you've been here before, you might know that I'm a huge fan of engaging speaking activities. They are actually the core of my lessons, and I do have a whole playlist on them, so you can go and check them just after this video. So today I'm back with 5 speaking activities that will make your students talk non-stop and love your lessons. Well, activity number 1, I call it through the keyhole. So you are going to ask your students to imagine they are a small person or a small creature, and they will have to describe the room from the perspective of this small person. So just think of Alice in Wonderland when she drank that potion, that made her very small, and who knows what was inside the potion. And this is very good for adjectives and for descriptions and prepositions as well, because they will have to work on, at the top or on the top or in the top, or background, at the background, on or at. So you can work with beginners because you can just use very basic adjectives to describe places, and you can also work with advanced students with this because you're going to have other type of vocabulary. Great. The second activity, I call it Uninvented Inventions. So you're going to ask your students to pitch something that hasn't been invented yet. So first thing, you have to explain to your student what a pitch is. So you're going to say, well, it's a presentation where you have to convince someone to buy your idea or your product and maybe even invest in it. So once they understood that, you are going to ask them to be creative and think about something that they would like to have, but it doesn't exist. So in my case, I would say a teletransportation machine. I would love to have that. So once they decided the object, they will have to pitch the idea for the other students, or if it's an online lesson, just for yourself. So they will have to talk about benefits this invention might bring to society. They will have to talk about the impact this new invention is going to make on society. So how is this going to disrupt the market? So if you think about Netflix, for example, they disrupted the market and they made Blockbuster, go bankrupt. So what are the benefits of this invention and what is going to happen in the future because of this invention? And still talking about pitches, activity number 3 is elevator pitch your hobby. So elevator pitches are shorter than normal pitches. So basically the student needs to convince people of something, but in a very short time, maybe even in one sentence. So you are going to ask the students, especially beginners, they love talking about hobbies because the vocabulary tends to be easier. So they will have to convince other students or convince yourself as a teacher, this hobby is the best one on earth. So what are the benefits of this hobby? So why would I do that? Why would I want to do that? Why is this good for my mental health or maybe for my physical health? So they will just have to try to persuade you into this new hobby because they're just looking for new enthusiasts. Great, so activity number 4, I call it the world's worst. So it's very easy to think about the best things. For example, what would be a superpower that you would like to have? So what's the best superpower to have? So probably to be able to be invisible. This would be great. But then what would be the worst superpower that we could have? So you are going to ask your students to think about it creatively and come up with ideas. And it doesn't need to be only superpowers. It can be what could be the worst job someone could have. And this is very subjective because it depends on your personal taste, your personal liking. So for me, being a teacher is the best job ever. But if I had to be a maths teacher, this would probably be the worst job ever for me because I'm not good at maths at all. So your students will have to think about the worst thing in one scenario that you are going to give them, and then they will have to talk about it and convince you that this thing is indeed the worst. So this is a great exercise, especially if you are practicing, if you are teaching your students comparative and superlative forms. So the last one for today, which is actually my favorite out of these 5 activities, I call it Your Life in Headlines. So you're going to ask your students to choose chapters of their own lives. So let's say when I got married, or when I had my first daughter, or maybe when I moved abroad. So they just have to think of their lives as like a soap opera, let's say, a Mexican soap opera, and they will have to give headlines to each one of these phases. This really encourages storytelling skills, creativity, but the best of all, they can learn how to summarize stuff in just one line. Well, so these were my 5 activities for today. I hope you liked them. I hope you can get your students talking non-stop. If you want more ideas like these ones, just subscribe to my channel, keep watching my videos and follow me on social media. Happy teaching!